When you think of a Souls-like, some of the first things that come to mind are a roll dodge and a discrete story. But one aspect I feel we overlook when we define Souls-like is a parry system. For those who don't know, a parry is a fencing term which means to block an enemy's blade with your own in a defensive fashion. But in today's video game culture, it can mean many things. To sum it up, when we say parry, we mean block an enemy with a weapon to set up a riposte. Different games have different systems for both parries and ripostes, and it's not exclusive to Souls-likes either. But one thing that is constant throughout all these games is the advantage you can gain by learning the skill. Compared to most other games with a parry system, Hollow Knight's is very subtle. There's no special button to parry or specific timing to memorize. All you gotta do is just hit when the other enemy hits. But the biggest difference is the absence of a riposte. You can do damage with a parry, but that damage isn't guaranteed. You may have noticed that sometimes when you parry a boss, you get hit. And other times, the boss gets hit. This is because of how your hitbox is aligned with the boss's hitbox at the time of the parry. If your nail's hitbox intercepts the hitbox of the boss, then the boss will take damage. But if the hitbox of the boss's attack intercepts with your hitbox, which is usually the result of a late parry, then you'll be the one taking damage. And of course, if neither of the hitboxes intercept, then no damage will be dealt. Be aware that this is only for what I call white strikes, where the enemy's attack creates a white line. This makes an interesting system where the parry is mostly used in a defensive manner, to brush off attacks in order to stay closer to the boss and get extra hits in. To further increase its defensive use, each time you pull off a parry, you get a few iframes. But the major downside of parrying in Hollow Knight is how hard it is to pull off consistently. And there aren't too many situations in Hollow Knight where the mechanic is better than just plain old dodging. Also, you have to use a nail build, consisting of both quick slash and mark of pride, to have any reasonable chance of pulling off parries consistently enough to be effective. To keep this video as concise as possible, I'm just going to be focusing on the parrying system in Dark Souls 3. As a 3D game, the way in which parries are used is much more nuanced than in Hollow Knight, but it sticks to the same basic concept. In the game, a variety of weapons can be used to parry, but to perform the action, a shield or weapon that can parry must be equipped, usually in the left hand. Once equipped, you can use the left trigger to initiate the parry, and a successful parry will lead to the chance to perform a riposte, which deals large damage. But mastery of this mechanic is not so easily achieved, and there are many hidden factors that go into whether the parry connects or not. The first of these are parry frames. Different shields and weapons will have different instances on which they can parry during their animation, with some having more parry frames and some having less. Needless to say, the more parry frames a shield or weapon has, the easier it'll be to pull off a parry. But a lesser known aspect of the Dark Souls parry system is the parryable frames of the attacker. Most weapons only have a few parryable frames at the start of their animation, and it's the intercept of the parryable frames of the attacker's weapon and the parry frames of the parrier's shield that initiate the parry. All of this comes together to create a very complex system where you are constantly forced to judge the attacks of the enemies and learn how your weapon of choice fits in. The more you start to analyze the parry mechanic in both Hollow Knight and Dark Souls, the more similarities that start to appear. They're both very situational, they're both unnecessary to complete the game, they both rely on practice timing to perform reliably, and they both require the player to focus their build around it. Yet they have drastically different effects on their respective games. A parry in Dark Souls creates more of an offensive playstyle due to the amount of damage you can deal with a riposte, which, in my opinion, is the reason that it's much more common to parry in Dark Souls than it is in Hollow Knight. There just isn't a good enough incentive to learn to parry in Hollow Knight for the average player. The risks are very high and the reward is very low. The substantial difference in damage output between both mechanics is what separates them the most. Although both can make specific boss fights easier, parrying in Dark Souls has use for regular enemies as well. Alternatively, Hollow Knight's parry has no such use. This isn't even taking into account the multiplayer aspect, where to come out on top in an invasion, a well-timed parry or backstab can save you. And Hollow Knight multiplayer is, well, yeah. But don't just take my word for it. I'd encourage you to go and try and parry in both games to form your own opinion on the matter. And if you can't seem to get it, here's an old piece of advice. Get good. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I've been interested in parries and how they work for a while now, and I didn't see much coverage on Hollow Knight parries in general, so I decided to make this. As always, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Peace.